What is this? Is this a perfume brand? Or is it Jaguar, a luxury car brand? I don't know. Is this the next big failure? Because I was a brand strategist and I actually lived through a failed rebrand, and I can see the dynamic, like how these things happen and why they fail. So I want to make this short video to talk to you about it. So we're going to do a little experiment today. Take a look at this image and try to think, take your time, like what brand could it be? Is it a fashion brand for these amazing red fabrics? Or maybe a model agency, because we live with it. Could it be dancing? Maybe a perfume, it's all about expression. Maybe this is a fiery scent for, I don't know, some spicy winter or whatever. Think deep. But to be honest, this is Jaguar. It's a car brand commercial. A car rebranding, to be precise. And I wanted to take this chance to talk about brands because I worked as a brand specialist and strategist for a long time. And I wanted to, take this as an example to talk about my story, because I had a really bad failed rebranding. I was part of it, and I can see a lot of mistakes happening again. So first, let's take a look at this brand here. Any guess? What could it be? Well, of course, it's Coca-Cola. So why am I showing this to you? For many people, a brand means that brand is a logo or a color. But to be honest, a brand is much more than just the typeface or the font or the symbol. Because imagine when we think about a brand, like probably you carry a phone or an iPhone or something like this, you don't really see any lettering on your phone. You just see the little logo, and even if you cover it, you can still recognize that it's an iPhone. And that's what a brand actually is. So here's another example. There's no text or anything, but you can probably recognize MasterCard. And I removed all the logos of these products, but I think you can still recognize like what it is. Like Heinz ketchup, right? The Beats headphones. So you can see that a brand is way more than just its lettering, its colors. And this brings me to Jaguar's rebranding. I think it's doomed for failure, and I think the rebrand was a big mistake. It's my personal opinion. Please don't feel attacked if you think it's amazing. It's just what I think based on my failed rebrand in the past. So let's take a look at the legacy. So Jaguar is a car brand, right? And it's known for like this like James Bond aesthetic, almost like everything was quite muted, not so saturated. The colors were quite, like everything was quite dark, quite black and white. And it had this like British elegance to it. The logo itself, even just the Jaguar on the car itself, the font, it feels luxurious. Like if like one day I earn a lot of money, why not? I would love to buy such a car and drive in it. So it's this kind of aesthetic. This is the heritage, right? But now they're shifting, and they're shifting to something like this. So when I look at this, like imagine it doesn't say Jaguar. It just says a different word. It says, I don't know, banana, right? Imagine this says banana. Then could you imagine what kind of brand it is? Like, is it a perfume, fashion, a toy? What could it be? Like, it can be anything, right? Because it's super generic. It's super generic, like literally any content that you create with AI these days looks like this. Like, I can even imagine the prompting. Vivid, surreal environment, pink tone, dust, and highlighted, like color contrast people. Super generic. So why is this a problem? It's a problem because it alienates the loyal customers. So imagine you bought into this brand. A brand is what we identify with, right? So imagine you're a Samsung person or an Apple person, right? It kind of defines your personality, right? If you use iOS or Android. If you use Android and there's a person that uses iOS, you might think, oh, you're like this. Like, I don't want to call names now. And if you're using iOS and you see an Android person with all these like custom widget and custom design and whatever, then you think, wow, very complicated. Oh my God, like, or I don't, that's what I think. Like, I think it's too much, it's too messy. I like the clean aesthetic. So of course for Jaguar, you identify with it as well. Like, you buy into this brand, and these cars are expensive, right? So you buy into this like image of yourself and you're really proud of it. But imagine suddenly the brand does a 180 on you and shifts into this. Like, you don't identify with this at all. Like, to give you another example, right? You love to drink Coca-Cola, right? You like the taste of it. It's beautiful. The color is like the bottle is red. Like, it's just a nice drink for you. Of course, it's not for many people because it's so sugary, right? But imagine it is. And then from one day to the other, they change it. Oh, we're not a cola company anymore. It's milk now, and the color is blue. There you go, enjoy. Because it's the trend. Then how are you gonna feel, right? You can apply this to any brand. Imagine you're an iPhone person, right? Okay, we're still making phones, but we want to make dumb phones now, and the phones are all in neon color, and instead of a camera, we are going to include nothing. Enjoy. Because it's cool these days. People want to go back to dumb phones, right? So you will alienate your loyal customers completely from one day to another. And if you really piss them off, it's very, very hard to get them back. Like, once you ruin a relationship with a customer, it's over. And furthermore, you also destroy your core values, because many brands, they build their core values over many years. Like, it takes centuries to build it. Like, look at watch brands, or like, for example, a jewelry brand, right? Cartier or Rolex. They have their old designs. Their designs are not changed for a very, very long time. Like, incremental little changes, just the color is a little bit different, the material a little bit. And even if the color is too different, people are outraged, like, how dare you could do this? AP, for example, they released a different watch recently and people were outraged. And this shows you like how important it is to stay true to your core values as a brand. But if you just change it, if you do a 180, you destroy it. Like, you just bury them. And here's a comparison of what they were before and what they are now. So this was the old logo, the old cars, like this like classic like James Bond aesthetic. And this is the new logo. And here as well, the new emblem. And also the new aesthetic that they're going for with the new logo. The font, like, very generic. It almost looks like the Motorola font. Like, just boring, right? And to be honest, it doesn't match. Like, perhaps some people will like it, but coming from a branding perspective, you cannot just completely flip without alienating 99% of your customer base. And this is what I want to talk about as well, trends versus longevity. So most of the successful brands, they are built over a long period of time, like literally centuries, 20 years, 30 years. They make a good design, they stick to it, they honor it. And when people like it and buy into it, they then like really support that as well. Like, you can see this with other brands as well, like, for example, other car brands. You have the classic, like, vintage Porsche designs, right? And people still love them. Like, there's a huge community about it. And if you go for short term, which are trends, like, for example, oh, this year AI is booming, so let's jump all into AI. It might generate a short-term boost, but what's after this year? The trend is over, then you go back to zero, right? So you need to build longevity with your brand. It's very important. And I want to tell you this story. Like, a couple of years ago, I was part of a big rebrand. It was a big a music brand and we did the rebranding for them. And because of this, I can kind of understand where these like branding agencies are coming from. Because, for example, back then we just wanted to change slight parts of the branding and elevate it to something more cooler. We wanted to create more value for the customers. But then you have designers in your team as well. There was a graphic designer and then another designer, and they were like, why don't we change the logo? Why don't we do this? Like, they have their passion, but they don't understand the psychology behind like the whole thing. They just want to create cool aesthetics. And I think this is exactly what went wrong here. Like, it's, yeah, like an echo chamber of designers and people who want to make something cool and new, but they don't really talk to the customers. And then that's what you end up with, like completely new typeface, completely new from scratch, and a generic text copy, nothing. Like, this literally sounds like it can come from a branding agency. We, as a branding agency, we copy nothing. We reinvent everything. Like, but as a customer, copy nothing. It's kind of negative, I think. Like, why do I want to identify it with copy nothing? Why don't we just flip it around and say, I'm unique or something like this, right? I don't know. Think different was Apple's text slogan, and people identified with it. Wow. You have all these amazing thinkers out there like Einstein and Gandhi and all these people, and Apple identified with, if you think different like these people, then buy our product. And it worked really well, but copy nothing kind of means like I copied something in the past. I don't like it. And here's what the brands did. So we have Porsche here. So you can see Porsche's Instagram, very clean. You have a lot of like the vintage cars, the racing aspect. Like, you have a nice mix of what the brand stands for and why people love it. And then even when they want to try something new, like you have it here. This is the La Marzocco collaboration with Porsche. So La Marzocco is a very fancy coffee machine. The most expensive, it's like 11,000 or 12,000 for a homemaker coffee machine. But they applied the Porsche branding to it, the racing branding. And those are collector's edition. Actually, I was thinking about buying one too, because they're limited in number, right? So once you buy them, they can only go up in price. So it's very interesting. And then you have Aston Martin here. So you can see quite similar, right? Staying true to who you are, like focusing on your product, which is the car, on the overall lifestyle. Like, if I buy an Aston Martin, which I probably never will, but I hope to, I want to race with it. I want to take it out to the mountains. I want to like go to this amazing lake. I want to feel like James Bond. Like, here you even have like the big band in the background. This is what I want. This is what I want to aim for. Like, this is what people identify with. These cars are so expensive, so yeah, why be so risky with it? And then here you have Maserati. So you also see, they kind of show you the experiences that you will have. Like, this is how you will smile once you buy a Maserati. And it's very different from this. Like, I don't know. I think it feels alien. It feels generic. It feels like made from AI. Nobody can identify with it. So that's why I think this is a huge failure and it's quite risky. But this is my personal opinion about it. I would love to know what you think. Comment down below. And yeah, let me know if you think that this rebrand is the next big failure.